All right, Phil, how's it going? My name is Case Bowling from First Reviews. Nice to meet you. How you doing today?
So nice to meet you. Doing good.
Um, I'm happy to hear it. I watched your film last night, and what I was surprised about this morning, even though I know it's an entertaining crime thriller and all that, but this morning when I was thinking about it, getting ready for this, I was honestly surprised by how moved I was by it, like thinking about it all over again. And I just want to know what inspired you to tell this particular story.
Yeah, I think inspired it is the kind of world I grew up in. I grew up with situations and people like this and in a world like this, where people kind of live between the cracks of society and everything around their world is broken and
Yeah.
falling apart and no one owns anything. You're just kind of on borrowed land, everything's rented and the only thing you have is your ego or your reputation or whatever you think you have to do. And you don't trust the police, you don't trust any kind of systems or social systems. So you kind of feel like you're out on your own.
Right.
Um, and that's the kind of world I grew up in, and that's the kind of world where I think these characters are struggling to live and find a life or escape from.
Yeah, and I think you informed that a lot in all the characters really. Even maybe some of the people that you weren't necessarily supposed to be rooting for. It seemed like everyone is, I guess, for lack of a better way of putting it, is like almost like a victim of circumstance, kind of like based on like where they're from and how they grew up, and that's kind of the vibe I got from the movie, and that's what I resonated with the most in the writing and execution of it. So I thought that was a really fantastic job on your part.
Oh, thanks. Thanks. Yeah, I like to, I like characters that are, I mean, I always think for each character, they're the star of the movie, from
Right.
their perspective, and I like characters where I'm not just seeing them do things. I get a sense or I understand what makes them tick, why they're doing what they do. So, and I like when all of those views conflict with each other, right?
Right.
And that feels more real to life to me. I mean, there's lots of times we hear a story and we're like, one side of the story, we're like, oh, there's no other way to look at it. And this
Right.
person's right, that person's wrong. Then you hear the other side, you're like, whoa, I never thought of that, from their perspective. So I wanted to do that with multiple characters struggling and also seeing the consequences of their actions, how they impact each other's lives. For
Right.
me, I like stories that kind of show what it means to be human. And all my characters are impacting each other, whether they know it or not. And I like to think that's what we all do in
Right.
our, you know?
The the storyline that really resonated with me the most is the storyline with Adam and Jimmy. It's kind of like father son relationship where one person doesn't even know, at least at the beginning, who this man is that's kind of entered his life. And you know I wanted to know, with the casting of Luke Evans and how that came about. Also, very great casting for the father and son, because I just thought that they actually looked like they could be father and son. Sometimes when you watch movies like this, it's like I don't really buy if they're related or not, but I actually got the vibe that these two were completely father and son, which made me buy that relationship even more.
Oh, that's great to hear. I mean, that's what you hope, I mean, for me, I'm kind of pragmatic about casting. Once I knew who Adam is, then it starts to set who, when I see actors, oh, that would be perfect for this character or that one. And when I saw Rudy, I felt like, oh, this he would be a great Jimmy. And of course, in the end, it's really the acting. It's
Like,
their acting that makes us believe it. And and I love what Rudy brought to it. I mean, Luke was attached even before COVID, and he resonated with the script and wanted to do it. And of course, for me, I was thrilled because I feel like having an actor like that allows the film to be at that level, and then
right.
it raises all the other actors who will join the project because Luke is involved. So then we're able to get people like Rory and Alex and Rudy and then, had amazing, I love the performance of Stephanie and Savannah were amazing to me. And Lorraine, who plays
Yeah.
Jamal, I think she was great. I just loved, I remember her audition. She was so good in it. And she even had this like look like the gold tooth that she had. No,
Yeah,
she's like, oh, it's a piece of tinfoil. I'm like, I loved it.
yeah.
Like, I want you to do exactly that. She was
Yeah,
so
yeah.
great.
I actually liked the way that you wrote for Donna too, because for a mother to be in that position, like how much do you tell your son? What do you not tell your son? Whether or not, it was right to withhold that information. I like that you kind of presented a perspective from her end of it, like this is why I didn't. But I also liked in that conversation that you have them have later in the film where he's like, you know, I wish you hadn't like held this information from me, like let him decide what to do with it. What was it like kind of coming to a point like writing those two characters and kind of meeting at that moment for them, what where understanding her side and then understanding his side once he finds out.
That's kind of the what I like about the script. There's a lot of you know, toxic masculinity, a good cautionary tale of that in this world.
Yeah,
I mean, this is the kind of posturing and the kind of egos that, and the ignorance of the living in this kind of world that, you feel like things you feel you need to do. And I also like that Adam is, he thinks that this is an innocent thing. He's just pursuing to see his son. It's a good thing. How could this be bad? But he's not looking at the boundaries he's crossing for Donna and what he's
right.
doing to her. And he's being aggressive, in my opinion, right?
Yeah,
He's not respecting, and he's thinking because he's doing it for like a good reason that how could this be bad? But he's not being aware. And there's a lot of things that actions that we do that we're not unaware of our impact on other people. And I love that about Stephanie. I mean, Stephanie and I talked a lot about Donna's motivation, because there's anger, and there's
yeah,
love and there's regret. But I think a lot of her performance we came down to is shaped by fear
yeah,
for her son. She's trying to protect her son. And just the knowledge that he has a father who murdered someone, what does that do to his psyche? What does that make him think he's capable of or who he is? And she's still trying to protect him with a story that Adam doesn't even realize exists and is just destroying by his
right.
action innocently, right? Because he's not trying to hurt anyone, He
Yeah,
doesn't even want Jimmy to know that he's the father. He just wants to see him,
see him.
But our actions create consequences that we can't see, right? And they
Yeah,
escalate, they set things in motion. And I think that's another thing I was really playing with the writing is, these small steps that are creating these unforeseen responses and actions.
right. I really got that sense too because as the movie is about to wrap up, it feels like it's building and escalating to something that can't be good. I mean, you're I think as you're watching it, you're hoping for the best, but I think just because you know who these characters are, that may not be what's gonna happen. And I thought you did a good job of that of presenting like Adams, he wants this kind of redemption and wants a chance to prove himself and show that he's better. But like you said, I mean, all this time has passed and he's been gone and he hasn't been there for that. So there's all these things that he doesn't understand because, you know, time has it's gone for him too, but it's moved on in a lot of ways for them where they've had to figure out how to live without him and just everything around them has sort of changed. So I really thought you did that whole building escalation really, really well.
Oh, thank you so much. I mean, that's such a compliment to say that. You hope. I mean, I try to write a film, and as I try to learn and get better, I try to get better as a filmmaker. I'm really trying to work on those emotional arcs. So hopefully, you can feel something. I'm fascinated when I watch a movie, and every time I watch it, it can make me feel, even when I know it, I've seen it again. And
Yeah,
you watch a comedy, and every time you laugh at a certain place, I feel like that crafting and pacing and understanding how to create that I'm always fascinated by it. It's like a miracle. It's magic to me. So I love trying to understand that and work on that. And I'm trying to do that with the film.
Well, yeah, I think you did a fantastic job, and I was completely surprised by how. I mean, I thought I'd be entertained, but really thinking about it this morning, I was surprised by how moved I was by it, and that had to do with some great writing and direction and what you were able to pull out of your actors. So, job well done on your part.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
No
I
problem.
so
Very nice speaking with you. No problem.
great meeting and great
You too,
talking to you.
man.